everybody set up?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. President.
Yeah, I'd like to say for the people that haven't been here, the Navajo Nation, welcome to the Navajo Nation Mayor, especially you and your staff. I'm glad that you came down. We're talking about an issue that happened a while back pertaining to the homeless that were murdered in Albuquerque. We initiated a meeting with the mayor at that time, the first initiation that we met at his office, and we decided to meet again here. At this meeting here, we are forming a task force to deal with the homeless in Albuquerque and everywhere else. And we have created a task force with name, with a timeline. We also got Senator Jeff here. We included the legislators from the state of New Mexico, and we have the legislators from the Navajo Nation representative, which is the Human Rights Commission. And we are here got that together, and we're going to move forward and meet again and with our data and statistics, and that's how we're going to do what we're going to do to make this thing happen. Again, Mayor, thank you for being here and your staff here, and again, Sandra, for being here too, and all of our program workers here. We got prevention, Teresa, we got social service here, human rights departments are here too. So law enforcement are here, and again, thank you.
Well, first of all, President Shelly, thank you for your hospitality today and your leadership and having us to the Navajo Nation. We came from Albuquerque across state lines today to come to Arizona to address an issue that is important in our city. It's important to the Navajo Nation, it's important to me as the mayor. Representative Jeff, great to see you again. We work together in the state legislature. And today we continued our discussion from several weeks ago pertaining to a tragedy in our city with Mr. Gorman and Mr. Thompson, who were murdered in the city of Albuquerque in an attempt to take a tragedy and use that as an opportunity and a springboard to build on the work that we've already done in the city of Albuquerque, both with the homeless initiatives and also with working with Native Americans who dwell in our urban area, who are welcome in the city of Albuquerque. We talked today about a needs assessment that was done during my administration in 2011 and a 2013 5-year consolidated plan that we've already begun. We talked about some of the funding increases that we've been able to put into place, and then we talked about the fact that we have a lot of work left to do. We set some timelines today. Those timelines from my standpoint are as follows. We are going to have a leadership team put together by President Shelly and by the legislative branch of the Navajo Nation that we will receive next week. By the end of this month, I will have a task force director selected for this task force out of my office with an appropriation from my office. And by the middle of October or sometime before the end of October, we're hoping to have a preliminary assessment completed with data, with recommendations that we can then go and use for communications with our state legislature and with our state government, with our federal delegation, that I can use in my budgeting process in the city of Albuquerque to help identify resources that we can add to those that we currently have in place to reduce redundancies in services, fill gaps in services, and come up with this game plan moving forward. So very productive meeting today. Timelines have been set, deadlines have been set. The very beginnings of this have taken place. I will also be meeting on August, I believe, 22nd of this month with leadership from surrounding pueblos and the regional pueblos in Albuquerque, so that we can bring this together and have a comprehensive look. But I want to once again thank President Shelly for his leadership on this issue, and as the mayor of the largest city in the state of New Mexico, I look forward to really crafting some solutions that can take us forward.
Thank you. I'm State Representative Sandra Jeff, District 5. I have beginning San Juan, I have 19 Navajo chapters, and I have the East Side of Gallup. It's good to be here with each and every one of you. It's good to see a lot of the staff members here with the Navajo Nation, as well as the legislative branch with the Navajo Nation. I'm also very ecstatic because I'm so glad that the Honorable Mayor Berry of the City of Albuquerque is here with us. And And I'm also very happy that our Honorable Navajo Nation President has taken the initiative to address this huge issue that really affected and impacted the Navajo people, as well as the urban Navajos and urban Native Americans within the state of New Mexico. I'm hoping that this initiative will also be a model for other states where a lot of Native Americans reside. It is a huge issue, and we have to take care of our people. Therefore, by this joint effort with all the parties that are here today, we will address those issues. And we hope that it doesn't stop here. We hope it continues in the future. Because a lot of us are politicians, but yet we know as statespeople that we have to address a lot of these issues that affect our people. We have high unemployment within the Navajo Nation. We have high poverty. We have to address this issue before we move forward. And we have to educate our people as well. And so with this joint effort, we are going to, again, get appropriations. We are going to also work on legislation that we hope that will pass during the New Mexico state session. And we also want to address this at the congressional level as well. And so I really thank you to every one of you for being here. And I really want to thank the mayor as well as the Navajo Nation president again and the staff. Thank you.
Members of the media, as you ask your question, remember we have 10 minutes. Please state your news affiliation and then proceed with your question.
Marley Shabala Yinshia Tohe Glini Shlon at the Nepashishtin. And I'm independent journalist. And my question is to Mayor Berry. The individuals who are charged with these brutal murders, they said that they had attacked 50 other individuals. And most recently, there was a federal report and findings of police brutality. And the Indian Center there has been floundering under a budget that you haven't been able to fund. You've actually cut their budget. So looking at all of those issues, will you be helping the Indian Center? Because that's where a lot of the Navajo people, the Pueblos, they go to that area.
Let me make sure we have some correct numbers in place. During my administration, we've actually included funding for the types of services that we're talking about today by almost 30%. So we, in 2011, undertook a needs assessment. After that needs assessment, we did a competitive bid. Some providers were selected, others weren't. So maybe there are some providers that have less funding, but there's been an overall 30% increase in my budget for these kinds of operations and these kinds of programs. We will continue that, and we want to use this as a springboard to once again go into the appropriation cycle at the city to fund things that work, measure those things, make sure that the return on investment is there for the taxpayers, but also for those that we serve, obviously, because that's what we want to do. I think we've made some good progress already today, and look forward to really crafting ideas and solutions that work that we can both take to the municipal level, but also talk to our congressional and our state representatives about as well.
Devin Ely with KOB. My question is, what services are we looking at? What sort of new things will be put into place to make this happen?
Well, I think the task force will make some of those determinations. We know that we have treatment that needs to be addressed. We know that we have mental health services that need to be addressed. We know that we have housing issues that need to be addressed. One of the things we talked about today might be some additional housing opportunities within the Albuquerque area. There are some good models around the country for that we'll be looking at. That was talked about. But we also, I think, talked about an important issue, and that is opportunity. How can we break the cycle of homelessness? We will be looking at why the Native American population that find themselves homeless in Albuquerque find themselves in that position. It'll be a similar discussion with individuals that aren't members of the Native American community. There's lots of roads to homelessness, and we want to make sure that we're addressing those. President Shelly talked, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but we talked about job training. We talked about all of those things to keep people from being homeless, help them out of the homeless situation if they find themselves there. Work between our, I have law enforcement with me today. The Albuquerque Police Department is here working with Navajo Nation law enforcement to find ways to make better connections between police officers and the community that we serve as well. Lots and lots of issues.
And to try to get also the funding that is needed for these, to institute these programs that is needed for a lot of these homeless people.
We got some land within Albuquerque, which is in the center. We also working with them. A lot of these homeless people do go over there. They get their meal there, and I'm asking the mayor to maybe look into that and see how we can do better, work with them. And she will, the one that's running that center is going to be on the task force too, so she will have a lot of input in this whole thing too.
Now, President, the issue with homelessness isn't solely in Albuquerque. There's a lot of homelessness on the reservation in Farmington and Shiprock, things like that. How else are you addressing that problem outside of Albuquerque?
Well, I think Albuquerque is going to be a history-making thing because they're one of the big cities. We're actually the capital of New Mexico. If we can just get this thing going, I think the other cities, we are working with the other cities too, but and I better say that it is working out, but it's the problem's still there. It always comes down to money, the money part of it. And I'm hoping to see that by working with Albuquerque and develop this task force, they can go nonprofit and break away from the government, and maybe they can get funding through from federal just to take care of the homeless. And the money will be there, and the people that really willing to make that happen are on board, not part of the government employment. Because we were talking earlier about, how long our terms are, and he's got 3 years, I'm ready for re-election now. I just don't, next year, if I don't, which I don't think I won't leave, I'll be back. If my reign as a president is going on, this thing will stay alive. If I leave, it's probably going to go away. So the same with the mayor. Whenever his term is up, somebody else new, we might just throw it out and put it in the trash. We don't want that. We want to get a task force going, something that we really want to make this thing happen with its own funding, with special people that are very good at these things to be a part of that, and that's what we were looking for.
And this is the early, I apologize. This is the early stages that we're building this task force, and so what we would like to also see is to include other mayors, mayor of the city of Gallup, the mayor of Farmington, to extend the invitation so that we can all have a joint effort to work on this issue.
But this issue has been around since the 70s, when you had demonstrations in Farmington, New Mexico, and in Gallup, New Mexico, in Flagstaff, Arizona. And in the 90s, you had that shooting by a police officer of a Navajo man in the Walmart parking lot. These issues dealing with not just homelessness, but the brutality that is happening to Native people that go into the border towns to shop. And you're talking about, the elections, and you might not be there. For Mr. Mayor, there is a Native American commission that this city has. Are you going to be bringing that back to life again?
We actually have been having that discussion for the last several years and trying to find a way to do that in a way that actually works, that's sustainable. We do have a plan in place to put that into action. We will take that opportunity through this task force to really get that moving forward. And so the short answer is yes. But we also, I want to echo what Representative Jeff and President Shelly said. We want this to be sustainable. I'm the mayor of the city of Albuquerque. We have a line around the city, so to speak, but we don't see this as just an Albuquerque issue. We want to try to craft things that can survive administrations, things that will work for Farmington, Gallup, other cities in the city in New Mexico, but also even in Arizona. Take the best practices that are out there, put them to good use. Take what we already have that is working, fill those gaps, and like you said, you made a great point. This didn't start yesterday. I wasn't the mayor in the 70s. I'm the mayor now. I want to make sure that we craft solutions today that work for Albuquerque, that can be emulated in other cities, other border towns, if you will, and create something that we can hand off to the next mayors and the next elected officials so that they can carry on that work and build that foundation. And that's the whole point of what we're doing here.
And I also agree with the mayor on that because, we can't look back. We've got to move forward. Now we're going to address this problem. Yes, it's unfortunate, very unfortunate, and it really bothers me, and it also affected us. as well as the state, as well as the city, as well as Navajo Nation. When these individuals were brutally killed by non-Native Americans. And so, this is a huge step forward. And I think that now that we have this joint effort, we're finally getting down to business, to finally do something about homelessness, throughout the state of New Mexico. And so this is a huge concern, and, I do apologize on my part that, I had to take something like this to move forward.
Molly, the question you asked is true. It happened before and all that. When you put some program in the political arena, we all know what happens. The new administration comes in, the mayor, whatever it is, governor, president, council delegate, they get involved, something happens, and people get concerned. Some do a plan development, which we're doing now. But when the administration is gone and people don't get reelected, it's forgotten. And then you also, as being a mayor or governor or president, you also have people that tells you what to do, your constituents. You gotta take care of the budget, you're being told what not to do and all that. When the constituents start making noise about why you throw money over there and this and that, that's what we don't want to put this program. This program that we're putting together should be special. It should break away from the politics, and it works on its own. In some way, we may maneuver this whole thing so it does not go away, that it's always there. It's always there to be funded. It's not in the political arena, and this is not to put these kind of programs in the political arena, because some people don't care about it. I don't know, they may not back this program and just let it go again. And the same thing will happen. People getting murdered at cities and towns again.
Okay, Q13, and then we'll go to you, Flora.
Catherine Zone, News 13. So obviously homelessness is a big issue, but what are some of the challenges that you've had to face in coming to some of these solutions? And do you think you're making progress?
One of the interesting things that came up today was talking about the cultural elements of this. We have treatment programs in Albuquerque that actually work quite well. We have programs that are housing the homeless and doing it at a very high level. In 2011, for the first time in 10 years, we did a needs assessment. We now have a 5-year action plan in place even before these brutal murders. So there's been good progress there. But one of the things I heard today is that there are folks that live in our city who are Native Americans who have language barriers, potentially cultural barriers to the programs that are in place. So one of the things that I want to address is how can we take the existing programs that work, make them more culturally sensitive so people feel welcome, people get the help that they need, and can move forward from there.
The challenging area also is training. Whoever comes to this particular program, if it's going to be developed to a program, this homeless area is re-educate and train them and try to release them back to society and create a job, not to keep them there for a lifetime. That's not the right way to do it. Get them all situated and get them trained, and they'll be out there working.
Well, and the third thing is, I'm glad that we have the Navajo Human Rights, who is also advocating on behalf of the Navajo Nation, who are out there doing outreach and also getting the statistics, and also talking to a lot of the homeless individuals that are housed there in Albuquerque. And so I'm really glad that we have a representative here that is with us and really helping us, to have this be beneficial to utilize so that we could move forward. And that joint effort with the police department in Albuquerque, with Navajo Nation Police Department, and a joint effort as bipartisan, where we set aside our party differences, whether we're a Democrat, whether we're a Republican, we're working together for the betterment of this state and the betterment for these individuals that are homeless. That's what it comes down to, and educating those individuals that don't understand the culture, that don't understand the Native Americans.
Okay,
Flora,
Navajo
right
Nation
after
Broadcast
you,
Services,
Ms. Gilman,
Flora
and then
being
we'll
here.
cut off the last question. Okay.
Okay. My question is, we know you're focusing on the task force here, but a lot of the Native communities around Albuquerque like to know if this is some kind of hate crime from the Hispanic nation toward the Native nation. They want to know if, like now we have the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission involved, so we find that that's a serious issue not, I don't believe that this is, but like, just like Marla was saying, this has been going on for years. And we want to know if some of this has been applied that might be a hate crime situation in that sense. And if, what is the Human Rights Commission thinking, or what is it going to come out to for the Native communities? Is this issue going to be resolved?
One of the first things that we did is we asked our police department in their investigation to look at that hate crime angle on this specific that occurred. That investigation is still ongoing. Today, I don't have evidence that it was a hate crime, but that investigation is not completed. I know that the FBI has been asked to look at the same situation, so I think that is going to be up to the judicial system to make that particular call. I did meet with Senator Bill O'Neill, who's a person that I worked with also when I was in the state legislature. His, I think, Senate Bill 124 is hate crime legislation against the homeless. We had the discussion just yesterday in my office in Albuquerque. I've asked him to brief me and my staff on that so that we can get ourselves in a position to understand what his legislation does and to get ourselves in a position where we can support that. We support the concept, obviously, but we want to, as a former legislator, it's really in the details. He gave me some good assurances yesterday, so we'll be continuing that discussion as well.
I understand that there's more victims than just Native people and homeless people, but regular, come to Albuquerque, we shop here, and they're also victims.
Well, one thing you have to understand too regarding urban Native Americans, a lot of these urban Native Americans are half-breed. You have half Mexican, you have half Navajo. And so I think that if we could institute that and work together with them, I think that it would be the betterment of, all of us coming together and making that effort to strive to work together so that we can beat this retaliation, this, racial stigma that is out there. And I think that even with the Navajo Nation human rights, that's what they're addressing as well, is they're extending that. And they are going to work with the other tribal leaders, with the Pueblos, with the Apaches, so that we can all work together and that we can figure out a common ground and to ensure that a lot of those needs are taken care of.
Our office, the Navajo Nation Human Rights, has met with leaders, the indigenous leaders in Albuquerque in the past few days. We have developed an interview survey process, and we've created a mechanism how we're going to go out and interview our Navajo indigents out there. We are very concerned about the treatment of the homeless out there, our Navajo homeless. We want to make sure that the city is held accountable for the treatment, and that there's fair and equal treatment in terms of the services being provided to these individuals, the investigations that take place with these individuals, the hospital care that these individuals receive. Our whole survey is going to be looking at the civil and human rights issues concerning our homeless.
And my human rights office is here with us today as well. So I've got police, human rights, family and community services, chief of staff. We've got a great group of experts in the room today.
So it's just that collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have human rights, you have prevention, you have social service, you have this and that. One thing I'd like to add on to it, my wife's really working on this women commission. I really, they'll be one of the task force members. I would recommend that because they know what family's all about, and they need to be empowered to dictate some things from the woman perspective, and we men don't see what we see, what women see. So I guess I'd like to see them be a little bit more involved with the government, Navajo Nation government, and the issue of family.
Okay, last question.
Okay, Ed Williams, KUNM. I just have a brief question for you, Mayor Berry. You've put a lot of stock in the Heading Home program in Albuquerque. Are you considering expanding that, in this situation, expanding the program to address the needs of the Native Americans?
Well, the reason we put a lot of stock in Heading Home is because it is a great model. We built it from scratch. We started it and incubated it and grew it in the mayor's office. We then took it out to the nonprofit sector who's running it now. Anaheim, California just adopted it. Other cities are calling this. We know it works. We recently started a Veterans Heading Home component. So we're going to try to use that as an application to use the same collective impact model. Whether this program, the things that come out of this task force belong in Heading Home, which they very well may, or whether we need to craft an individual solution, I don't know yet today. We'll let the task force look at that. But we do know that the city of Albuquerque, when we're really faced with a difficult issue, our city did step up. made a big fundamental difference in people's lives, and I think we can use that same model for this task force. And it would be welcome in hitting home, certainly, if that's the best choice.
Let me make, is that it? Well, let me make one more statement here. I want to challenge our Senator Jeff here from our legislative and the senators out there that there is a Senate Bill 124 in existence, that it was voted down, it's pertaining to homeless. If they could add a little bit more language to that Senate bill, they can bring it back and then take another look at it. And in there, it should be, you mentioned something about other towns are doing the same thing, what happened in Albuquerque. It could be that an order can be made through the lawmakers that language, that all towns within New Mexico will follow certain things to address the homeless and develop some sort of a policy, maybe this task force, maybe join the task force, whatever. It could be done in there, and that's a challenge to the senators and the House Representatives on the House. But if they reintroduce 124 this year, I will be there to support. I will lobby on that, and where our lobbyists is over there, they will also probably lobby for it.
And I'm also the chair of the Indian Affairs Committee. And so, I want my colleagues to also take a look at this so that we can also endorse legislation and to also, get the support from the legislators, both on the House of Representatives as well as the senators.
Given the fact that the Navajo Nation generates almost $3 billion in its aggregated income with everything on the Navajo Nation, 75% of that money goes off the Navajo Nation. We really need to fund these programs in these urban areas for our homeless individuals. That's a concern that we have as a Navajo Nation Human Rights.
Okay, members of the media, thank you very much and welcome to Window Rock.